There's one place in the ocean that carries a pretty dark reputation. Back in the 15th century, Christopher Columbus's crew encountered something that sent them into panic. The legendary explorer's ship log describes the compass needle spinning erratically, blazing streaks of fire shooting out of nowhere, and the sea casting an eerie glow. Many years later, this mysterious place proved once again how ominous it is. Ships disappear without a trace here. Sometimes they are found, drifting, empty, and desolated. But more often than not, we don't even find wrecks. And it's not just the ships that vanish. Here, whole squadrons of military aircraft have also gone missing. Facts and rumors about these strange phenomena spread rapidly across the world, and soon this patch of the Atlantic was branded with a name that still sends a chill down the spine. You've already guessed it. This is the Bermuda Triangle. What kind of supernatural force lies beneath its waters? And what does science have to say about it? So, stay tuned to find out. Ship wreckages. Well, first of all, let's refresh the most notable incidents that gave the Bermuda Triangle its loud and grim reputation. The training sailing ship HMS Atalanta left the Royal Navy dockyard in Bermuda for Falmouth, England on January 31st, 1880. The ship didn't reach the British Isles. In fact, it hadn't even left Bermuda. It simply vanished without a trace. It was believed that the ship sank after running into a violent storm on its route, and that the crew wasn't experienced enough to manage the situation. At that time, the entire world was anxious to learn about the ship's fate. When the vessel went missing, the Admiralty received over 150 telegrams and 200 personal calls from worried friends and relatives. The missing ship grabbed headlines, and the public demanded an explanation. People offered all sorts of plausible theories, but neither the wreckage nor the bodies of the dead, well, let alone survivors, were ever discovered. To this day, HMS Atalanta's disappearance has remained a mystery that no one can properly explain. Also, the coal carrier Cyclops, loaded with manganese ore, left the island of Barbados on March 4th, 1918. A few days later, it disappeared without a trace, along with a 309-person crew. This incident stands as the highest number of non-battle casualties in U.S. Navy history. There are several hypotheses regarding the loss of the USS Cyclops. Some blame a powerful storm. Others point to overloading or structural damage from the cargo. And some even claim it was attacked by the Imperial German Navy. But the fact remains, the ship vanished without a trace in the ocean area that would later be called the Bermuda Triangle. This is the 5-masted commercial schooner Carroll A. Deering, built in 1919. On January 31st, 1921, it was spotted by the Coast Guard on Diamond Shoals near Cape Hatteras, North Carolina. The ship had run aground, and the Coast Guard was ready to rescue anyone on board. But it turned out there was no one to save. The ship was abandoned. There was no crew or passengers. Sadly, further search efforts for the missing people yielded no results. As always, there are multiple theories explaining this event, from a pirate hijacking to a staged disappearance carried out by the crew itself. Leftover tech from the city of Atlantis. Now, this one is pretty hard to believe, but of all the claims tied to the Bermuda Triangle, the idea that it hides the lost city of Atlantis still ranks as one of the most widely shared. This theory was popularized by none other than Edgar Cayce, who predicted that in 1968, archaeologists would uncover the gateway to Atlantis near Bimini, deep within the Bermuda Triangle. That same year, an unusual submerged rock wall formation was spotted near an island in the Bahamas, and plenty of people jumped on it as proof. According to the legend, Atlantis was powered by advanced crystals, and those same crystals, still resting beneath the waves, are said to release energy that disrupts navigation. That energy, they claim, causes planes and ships to spiral off course and vanish. On top of that, conspiracy theorists continue to whisper about a hidden military base down there, something they call Underwater Area 51, being involved in the disappearances. Whether any of it holds up or not, this theory just refuses to go away. Flight 19. This was one of the most famous and dramatic incidents, and it didn't involve a ship, but an entire squadron of aircraft. That alone pushed researchers toward even wilder paranormal theories about the Bermuda Triangle. Flight 19 was a training operation with 5 TBM Avenger torpedo bombers. According to the flight plan, they were to fly 141 miles east of Fort Lauderdale, then turn 73 miles north, and finally loop back another 140 miles to complete the mission. But the aircraft never returned to base. The whole squadron vanished over the Atlantic on December 5th, 1945. What made it worse was that a rescue team of PBM Mariner seaplanes also met disaster. One of those planes disappeared too, taking all 13 crew members with it. Flight 19 marked the beginning of a long line of similar aerial incidents. Over the following years, aircraft continued to disappear in the same region without any kind of explanation. That one mission ignited a mystery that still hasn't burned out. The legend of Flight 19 just won't go away. Star Tiger and Star Ariel. Now here is another plane vanishing. On January 30th, 1948, an Avro Tudor 4-passenger aircraft, known as the Star Tiger, vanished while flying from the Azores to Bermuda. Almost exactly 1 year later, on January 17th, 1949, another plane vanished under nearly identical circumstances. This second aircraft, also an Avro Tudor 4, was flying from Bermuda to Kingston, Jamaica, and it had a similar name, Star Ariel. It felt as if the infamous triangle had something specifically against these models. Then, on December 28, 1948, a Douglas DC-3, registration NC 16002, went missing during a flight from San Juan, Puerto Rico to Miami. There was no debris, no signal, and of course, no survivors. The plane had 32 people on board and simply vanished. Investigators from the Civil Aviation Board admitted there wasn't enough data to determine what caused the disappearance. The missing planes all vanished without clear explanations. Whether coincidence or curse, these aircraft never left a trace behind. And once again, the Bermuda Triangle's reputation deepened, leaving behind nothing but questions. 29-foot Mako Cuddy cabin. Now this one is just unbelievable. The 29-foot Mako Cuddy cabin with 20 people on board was reported missing a day after it was supposed to arrive in Lake Worth, following its route across the Gulf Stream from the Bahamas. The boat was last spotted on December 28, 2020. Any attempts to locate the vessel or the passengers turned up absolutely nothing. There was no debris, distress call, or any kind of clue. What made it even more baffling was that there were zero records of any emergency transmission. Search efforts stretched over 84 hours and included both aircraft and boats, scouring more than 17,000 square miles, nearly twice the size of the entire state of Massachusetts. But nothing surfaced. It was as if the boat had simply vanished into thin air. There were no oil slicks, personal items, or even a floating cushion. The incident only added to the list of eerie disappearances in the Bermuda Triangle. A brand new case in modern times, reminding everyone that this strange region hasn't stopped swallowing things. A complex ocean region. Those who believe the Bermuda Triangle is some kind of deadly trap aren't entirely wrong, at least from one angle. This is, in fact, an incredibly complicated part of the ocean. Vast, shallow zones, sharp underwater depressions, tangled ocean currents, and chaotic weather systems all coexist here. And now we'll dive into exactly what that means. Starting from the very bottom of the sea. The configuration of the ocean floor in this region is well documented. Researchers even know what lies several kilometers below the seabed itself. Around the Florida Shelf, the Bahamas, and Bermuda, extensive drilling and geophysical mapping have been conducted. The seafloor in the Triangle holds a stunning variety of features that you won't find in most other places on Earth. There are shallow shelves, continental slopes, massive and marginal plateaus, deep ocean trenches, underwater straits, and flat abyssal plains, all jammed into this one relatively small marine area. It's not just strange disappearances that make this region fascinating, it's the raw physical structure too. And despite all our tech, it's just a riddle. Underwater hills. These small mountains in the Triangle have an oddly consistent and almost perfect conical structure. The lower ones, less than 100 meters tall, are even more abundant. These are officially classified as underwater hills. From above, their round or slightly oval outlines are easy to identify. The slopes, ranging from 10 to 30 degrees, aren't particularly steep. The base width can stretch from just a few kilometers to dozens. Both the slopes and the seamounts across this region appear unnaturally uniform, often shaped like cones or layered steps. The stepped kind looks like huge platforms stacked with smaller cones on top. What's curious is that the Atlantic has far fewer of these than the Pacific. The Pacific seafloor holds nearly 10,000 individual seamounts. The Atlantic? Only around 600. And it's not about the Atlantic being smaller. It's the result of very different geological conditions. That said, the Bermuda region does have a surprisingly high concentration of these formations. Coincidence or not, they're clustered right here. The Bermuda Islands. The islands that gave the Bermuda Triangle its name are actually just the summits of some of the largest seamounts rising from the Bermuda Plateau. Some of these rise independently from the deep ocean floor, while others form groups. These underwater formations were originally created by basalt, but over time, they've become hidden beneath thick layers of limestone. That limestone base is what forms the actual seabed of the Bermuda Triangle, and it's a geological structure unlike anything else. The limestone deposits in this zone are nearly 6 kilometers deep. All of that material is built from the fossilized remains of ancient microscopic marine life. This part of the ocean is also home to the planet's northernmost coral reefs. For hundreds of millions of years, the environmental conditions here have remained nearly unchanged. And even now, geologists still haven't agreed on exactly how Bermuda formed in the first place. There's still no clear answer. That's part of what keeps the mystery of this place alive. Unusual volcanic origin. Back in 2019, a major international team of geologists published a study in Nature revealing that Bermuda was formed through an extremely rare type of volcanic activity. Until then, scientists hadn't really examined this kind of volcanic origin, though it may also explain the formation of other volcanic island chains throughout the oceans. For years, experts believed that ancient, long-dormant volcanoes had forced the Bermuda Islands up from the Sargasso Sea, all triggered by what's called a mantle plume. A stable plume was, in fact, observed beneath the region. But there's a catch. Plumes typically leave behind a trail of islands like Hawaii, formed as Earth's crust slowly drifts over a rising column of magma. No such island chain exists here. Plus, There's currently no volcanic activity in the area influenced by this plume. To sort that out, geologists reanalyzed an 800-meter-deep core extracted from Bermuda in 1972. The core revealed a strange mix of minerals, lead isotopes, and other heavy elements not normally found here. Magma disruptions and floating plates. That research led to several theories about Bermuda's true origin. The most convincing explanation suggests that deep disruptions in the mantle caused fragments of ancient tectonic plates to rise and mingle. These fragments, preserved in the mantle's transition zone, were slowly pushed upward. The explanation may sound technical, but once you wrap your head around it, it's surprisingly clear. Let's back up a bit. The Atlantic Ocean itself was born around 175 million years ago when the supercontinent Pangaea split apart. That landmass included nearly all of Earth's continents. As it fractured, the landmasses that became Africa, Europe, and the Americas began drifting, creating the ocean between them. During that process, plate fragments plunged deep under the seafloor, sinking into the mantle transition zone, somewhere between 400 and 600 kilometers down. Then, about 30 million years ago, something disrupted those magma flows. That disturbance pushed some of this semi-melted rock upward. It started rising, fusing, and reacting with water. And that's what likely gave birth to the infamous Bermuda. Puerto Rico Trench. So, the Bermuda Triangle was already an unusual location tens of millions of years before its modern-day mystery status ever existed. But what lies above the ocean in this region has an opposite, something just as compelling beneath the surface. That's where we find the Puerto Rico Trench. It holds the deepest point in the entire Atlantic Ocean. This specific spot is called the Milwaukee Deep, and it sits right inside the Bermuda Triangle. The trench reaches a depth of 8,380 meters, and some measurements claim it might be even deeper. Is that a coincidence? It might be, but it definitely feels like too much of one. That said, the Puerto Rico Trench is well studied, at least as well as modern equipment allows. The slope closer to Puerto Rico tilts at 8 to 10 degrees, while the opposite slope, facing the open ocean, is more gradual, sloping just 3 to 5 degrees. Still, this trench is no small thing. It's one of the planet's most dramatic underwater formations. The Puerto Rico Trench is considered medium in size. Its total length stretches about 1,550 kilometers. For comparison, the longest trench on Earth, the Peru-Chile Trench, extends about 5,900 kilometers. But when it comes to width, Puerto Rico's trench is one of the widest. It spans 120 kilometers across. For perspective, the Mariana Trench, though deeper, is only about twice that wide. The total surface area of the trench's floor is around 186,000 square kilometers. That's massive. Because of its size, it's often drawn into theories involving deep ocean mysteries. Science fiction writers like to imagine that strange forces or creatures dwell in its depths, and to be fair, it does look the part. But despite its ominous reputation, there's nothing supernatural hiding down there. No ancient monsters or anomalies, just layers of silt, volcanic ash, and fine-grained sands spread across the bottom. Even so, the trench supports deep-sea life, like sponges, holothurians, worms, and fish living in the pitch-black water column just above it. Methane gas. Now let's end this with something that tries to explain the Bermuda Triangle's reputation as a ship-swallowing zone of the Atlantic: methane gas. One explanation for several disappearances in the region has centered on massive deposits of a natural gas known as methane hydrate. Laboratory tests have shown that sudden methane bubble eruptions can lower the density of water enough to sink model ships in seconds. Any wreckage would then likely rise, only to be quickly carried away by the strong Gulf Stream, leaving no trace. Some researchers also suggest these eruptions, sometimes called mud volcanoes, could churn the sea into frothy, unstable water incapable of supporting a vessel, causing it to drop rapidly without warning. Others argue that methane could even interfere with aircraft engines or instruments, potentially explaining vanished planes as well as ships. U.S. Geological Survey reports confirm that large reserves of methane hydrate exist worldwide, including nearby. Yet according to most studies, no major release has occurred in the Bermuda Triangle for at least 15,000 years. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you very soon.